Hello, everybody. I just wanted to make this quick video to share this customer journey mapping template that I've made. Feel free to go into Lucid Spark to make a copy of it and to use it to help you better design your customer journey experiences. But originally, this template did come from the Experience Design and Management program from BYU Provo, and then I added some elements to it like the persona board, the emotional map, and some other quick helps to reemphasize important aspects of journey mapping that will hopefully help you put the customer first when going through this. So, before we even start diving into the customer journey map, one really cool method and thought process that you can use that, in my opinion, will help you create a more effective journey map is this refers to this little graphic I included up at the top that can be defined as the design thinking method or the design thinking process. And it's broken down into these 5 steps. And I'm going to walk you through this. If you use these 5 steps, it'll help you create a more detailed journey map that'll really help you hit your target audience and give them what they need and help them resolve their pain points. So, first things first, obviously, you want to empathize. Hopefully, you're very familiar with what that means and with diving into a customer's headspace and learning how they think and their needs and the value propositions that would call to them. So, before you even start journey mapping, what you want to do is you want to go and collect data about your customers, or in this case with FamilySearch, about patrons. So you want to go, you want to conduct interviews, gather survey data, gather other quantitative data and things like that. And then once you've gathered all of this, you should be able to summarize, or at least do your best to summarize all this information into a persona. Persona is more or less a culmination of different important points that summarize generally your target audience, the needs they have, their concerns, things they're interested in. That way, when you're designing a customer experience and a customer journey map, you can refer back to this and ultimately stay customer centric because it's really easy when you're designing a customer journey map to just start thinking about the journey more than the customer itself, which is obviously backward. So that's why I would say it's really important to create a persona. So when you go in here, I always like to add a photo. It allows you to just kind of humanize the people that you're trying to work with because they are indeed human, right? Then you add a fictitious name, add some demographics again based off of that previous data you collected about your target audience, and include a brief background and pain point, especially behavior preferences, and a goal. All of this stuff will help you to stay focused on the customer as you design their experience or to improve a pre-existing experience, right? In this case today, the journey map I have created is to create an experience. So hopefully we're not going to run into a lot of pain points, and it's just going to help us resolve pre-existing pain points. Okay. So once you've done that, once you've outlined this, the next key step, again, before you even start mapping out the customer journey, is to define a problem or to identify a pain point that they have. It's really easy to just assume that customers have a general pain point or problem, when in reality, and this is again key to why you need to make sure you do a really good job with um, collecting customer data, is to ensure that you're attacking the right problems. Oftentimes, it's really easy to just take things at surface level, to assume, well, obviously, this is the customer's issue. When in reality, when you start getting to know them, you can then learn something new and learn that they're having this issue because they have a deeper underlying problem. So I would just say make sure that you define the problem very in depth and make sure you're hitting the core of the problem instead of just touching it surface level. So next is ideating. In this case, and with this experience, we're wanting to come up with a way that we can better connect with BYU students and help them not only use the products that we have from FamilySearch, but we also want them to see future career opportunities within FamilySearch. And we believe that by doing so, we can hopefully help with this pain point in this case, which a lot of young adults have just been introduced to family history and they don't have time for it, or maybe they've had negative experiences with it. or they've had positive experiences, but then they just kind of push them off to the side. So that is kind of the pain point, and that is the problem that we've defined that we need to tackle for this experience or that we're designing to interact with BYU clubs. So as we've done that and we've ideated, you can then start prototyping, and prototyping is really the step when you finally start diving into designing this customer journey map. So just some quick things as I walk you through this template. I'll go ahead and start with this left side, and it just identifies the different touch points, the associated reactions, the front stage contributors, backstage, etc., that happen at each stage of the experience. As you can see, this first one, I included previous experiences with family history. It's a really broad sense, and most of the time with customer journey maps, and you can see here, each of these touch points will be really specific for an experience that you're providing. However, I still like to include some of these broad points, especially towards the beginning in the anticipation phase and towards the end in the reflection phase, because it's important to consider where a customer is coming from before an experience and where they'll be going afterwards if you want them to draw back on this experience or to be excited for an upcoming experience. Okay, so as we dive into that, touch point is when a customer will interact with the designed element of an experience. The reaction is their current reaction, what they have, or if you're designing an experience, it's the reaction that you hope they have. So that way you can make sure there are elements there that are pushing customers or patrons to think in a very specific way. Front stage contributors, what types of things are impacting a customer's experience that they can see? And then backstage contributors are things that a customer can't necessarily see, but they're still impacting their experience. So if we include all of these elements, it's not really easy because it's very difficult, but it's much more easy to keep track of the things that we need to do and we need to ensure stay positive and stay effective to overall promote a positive experience. Kind of like what I was mentioning earlier, it's also broken down into these 3 phases. It's really easy to just focus on the participation phase of what happens in the actual experience that we're creating, where in reality, it's just as important to focus on how are customers anticipating an experience and then how are they going to reflect back on the experience. The reflection phase is especially crucial if we want our customers and patrons to become advocates for the products and for FamilySearch in general. So below that, we can see that you have an emotional map. Oftentimes, it's really easy to think, well, I want to make sure customers have a very positive experience throughout this entire interaction. And while that is a good thought to have, in reality, it's not feasible. Reason being is because if you think about any experience that you have, whether that's fantastic ones such as going to Disneyland or whether it's going to the gas station and things like that, there's a wide variety of emotions that you feel throughout the entire time. It can't be summarized into just positive or negative. You're most likely going to have positive and negative experiences throughout. Through journey mapping, our goal is to minimize those negative experiences. But for example, here, throughout the experience, you can see there are various points of just feeling neutral to feeling very positive back to neutral. And then ultimately, you hope to end on a really positive note. But at the same time, you don't want to try and hit the goal of just someone being in that positive emotional scale the whole time, because they're going to be so emotionally drained that it might end up turning into a negative experience at the end of the day. So hopefully that makes sense. Just 2 more things to emphasize with this template. You can see over here we have these MTMs, which are actually moments that matter, and then these stars, and I'll first dive into these moments that matter. Moments that matter boil down into specific touch points that can make or break a customer's experience. So for example, with this, obviously with a lot of club experiences that I participated in and just with college students in general, food is very big. So for example, if we're hoping to have some type of food for these students when they come in and they do this experience, a lot of them probably have agreed to show up to a club night like this so they can get a free dinner and do some networking. So if the food's terrible, if they don't get full, or if we just decide to provide treats or something like that and it's not good, that's going to detract from the overall experience. So it's a moment that matters because if it's negative, the customer might remember the entire experience as being negative. Or if it's really positive, the customer might remember the entire experience as being positive. Okay. Next thing are these stars, and these refer to moments of truth. So I have this little graphic down here in case you forget, but I'm going to walk you through each of these. So the zero moment of truth is just when a customer is searching for a solution to their problem, or maybe they don't even realize they have a problem and they're just going about their day. And that's kind of that preliminary stage, if that makes sense. So and then you can see the stars mark these there. Next is the first moment of truth where a customer officially buys into being willing to try out an experience or a product. They finally put their money down or put an X amount of effort down to see if participating in a certain experience is going to help them attain perceived value or solve a pain point. The second moment of truth is when they start actually using a product or when they start interacting with an experience. So the second moment of truth is really big because that, again, along with those moments that matter, and forgot to mention, but the explanations for those should be included down here, can again be a make or break point, and or is a point that we really want to emphasize. So with this, we really want to emphasize tree building because we think it's an incredible experience. I could have also, and probably should, include ordinances ready and scheduling a temple appointment as well, because it's a really crucial moment that we want to make sure customers reflect on as something positive. So we really want to make sure we don't mess that up. And then the third moment of truth is when we hope that customers become advocates for the product. So obviously, if an experience is really good or if a product is really good, they're going to advocate for it down the line during this reflection phase to other people. So we're hoping that when they attend the temple, as well as when they maybe receive a notification or they're reminded to do more tree building, they encourage other people to do it with them and therefore become an advocate for the product. So that's kind of a breakdown. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Again, to access this, just go into Lucid Spark, make an account, create a copy of this, and then you can conduct your research, create a persona, define your problem, ideate, create your journey map, and then eventually, once you've done this, and the last part of the design thinking method, you can go and test it out in the field, come back and make edits to your journey map or to your designed experience and go from there. But let me know how it goes, and best of luck.